You're watching ASOTUCon 2024, presented in collaboration with Reynolds and Gubagoo.
Thanks to our studio partner, fullthrottle.ai, for making this panel happen.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. So you're in the session for how to maximize profits by providing an amazing employee and customer experience. And we've got three very special people here. One that two that I've had the pleasure of moderating before. But for me, this is a very near and dear topic because protecting the culture is the number one thing that I do for both my companies. I know that culture can eat profit for breakfast. That is a quote by the former CEO of Microsoft, and it's something that I believe very much so. So I want to start with Katie. You and I had a conversation just a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about how humans are at the center of it all. Can you share kind of what you meant by that?
Can you hear me now? All right, there we go. Humans are at the center of it all. We can take a look at inventory and marketing and systems and processes all we want, but at the end of the day, humans are the ones executing those things. Humans are the ones buying the inventory that you're purchasing and putting out there. Humans are the ones that make it tick. So if you don't have a human-centered or centric experience internally and externally, you're losing out.
And you had a very unique experience, right? Going through in a car shopping experience.
Oh my goodness, did I ever? I mean, I wrote the book about it. Yeah, it was that. Yeah, so I entered the industry about 7 years ago because I had multiple awful car buying experiences. And as a customer experience expert, I've said this, and I'll keep saying this over and over again, you get a better experience buying a $7 latte than you do a $70,000 vehicle in most cases. Not in all cases. There are some very progressive dealers that work very hard at it, but in most cases. And as a woman, well, I can't believe that gender disparity gap is there. And it is. And so I decided to go down that road. And that experience made me see just how much opportunity this industry has. And it's really unique. I work in all industries, not just in automotive. And I think sometimes the automotive industry forgets how much potential it actually has. We are a little bit low when it comes to the experience we provide our customers and our internal customers, our employees. So it's not going to take much to surprise and delight these people because their expectations are so low. And so it's a really cool, unique space to be because of the low-hanging fruit.
And I grew up in a store that when I was young, we were more concerned about how many leads did we get and how many units did we sell, not how many customers did we serve, right? So that's a perfect transition to you, Jonathan. You've built a career around education. By the way, I love your shoes. Why are you wearing those?
Well, since you asked, I had a 2-day back-to-back leadership event at my training center in Atlanta. And it wrapped late yesterday, and I took the latest flight I could. I arrived at 1:30 this morning and set my stuff aside, tried to get to sleep, woke up, had some tasks, went to unpack, get ready to come here, and I know exactly where my dress shoes are at my house because they're not in my bag. And I flew with my flip-flops, and when I got ready to come here, I said to my wife, I called my wife, I said, look, I got two options. I'm either gonna show up late to the event and go buy some shoes, or I'm gonna just be me. And she went, you can just do the flip-flop thing. And then the Marvel socks is because my daughter loves Marvels, and this is the way I bring her with me on trips. So.
And there's a bottle cap opener on the other side.
Yes,
I can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Just in case. Yeah. You always want to be prepared. If anybody needs a battery charge or a drink opened, I'm good for it. I got
Perfect.
You.
All right, let's get to business. Yeah. So let's talk about customer experience. I mean, because do you focus on the employee? Do you focus on the customer? Because in every moment, we also have to make a decision, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, so my mantras are that my goal with any client that I serve, and for those who don't have context, I've now been serving auto dealers for over 20 years. I've been in 3,000 dealerships, 7 countries, and 3 continents. So I've seen a little bit. And in that journey, one of the things that I try to provide as a focal point or as a story to share is our goal is to out-experience the competition, to create raving fan advocates, not simply to convert customers. And in the mission of creating raving fan advocates, of course, it starts with internal customer, right, which is our people. I always tell people, like, if you're looking for a referral to me, my best clients absolutely love their customers. They just love their people a little bit more. And so if you have that mantra or philosophy, I think then it permeates the process, right? And to Katie's point, behind every website and widget and tool and technology is a human being. And so it doesn't matter. I mean, I can recommend a great CRM. It's still a human being on the other end of both sides of that equation. So how do we, on our part, equip and empower people to become highly effective at creating great relationships through relational selling strategies? And then through that, the customer experience process gets shaped towards creating these raving fan advocates who then become our marketing engines. There was some people here, and I don't know that they're still in the room, but they said, I said, what was your objective? Because they were sitting here right before the session. I said, what's your objective in being here? And they're in marketing. And they said, we want to talk to dealers about traditional media. And I said, I don't. He's like, sell me on why I should stay in your session. I said, I don't think I can. If my worldview happens, you go out of business. So you know what I'm saying? Like I want our customers to become our marketing engine. So that's my worldview. It doesn't have to be yours. It's just mine. So that's my short answer to that.
I love that we're starting with the why, because I think the why equals the what. And we're going to get to the what. We're going to dive in to know exactly how we can walk away executing. But Phil, you and I were talking about mentorship around that. And you have a very unique perspective because you've done a lot of work around mentorship within your organization.
Yeah, so one of the great things about, I guess, coming into a family store is you see a lot throughout your growing up and seeing how, in my case, my father's operated the store and everything like that. And to really drive on this is when I came back into the store, the first thing I said to my dad, probably within 2 months of being there, is I would never buy a car from us, right? Like because the experience was just not that great. And that kind of launched what is now a 10-year effort to change that dynamic in our dealership, and we've had a lot of big results. But the mentorship is a big key to it, because what that drives, and we can get into kind of our specifics of it, but it drives employee retention, right? And you're never going to achieve customer retention or happy customers, in my belief, without employee retention. So, we set a goal to get what was 110%, turnover down to 50 and then 20, and now we're sitting just about 15% turnover. So, which I don't know if I can get it much better than that, but with that, we have seen a huge difference in what happens for our customers, because our employees are finally happy and bought into the store and what they're doing on a day in and day out basis. So, that's been a huge part of our success here lately.
You mentioned 4 key things. What are those 4 key things?
So, I'm so sorry, a little fuzzy on the conversation, but I'll kind of drive into what we did. So, number one, we set kind of a mission statement for what we wanted to do as a store. So for that, it's delivering a lifetime experience. Now, when we say that, that means not only for our employees, but our customers as well, right? I don't want this to be, the focus has to be on the employees. So once we establish that, we put 2 things in place. One was, how are they empowered to make decisions on behalf of the customers? And if you do the right training and give the right empowerment tools, employees make a lot of the right decisions. And then what does our ideal employee look like? So for example, we have what we call the PAID model, PAIDD. So that's an ideal employee for us is a professional, they're accountable, they have integrity, they're dedicated, and they're driven, okay? We determine who we hire based off that, we determine who we promote based off that, and that really helps us kind of give us a roadmap of how we want to create a great employee experience. Because if we're hiring the right people, we can drive their actions and benefit the end user, which is the customer in a lot of instances. So that's a lot of work we've put in to kind of help establish a framework to then build upon.
Jonathan, this is a 2-parter.
I'll take part 2 first.
Will those socks ever be the same?
No. Neither will my reputation at a conference.
When you are a team member within a culture that you know needs change, but you're not in a leadership position to make that change, how do you affect that change in a meaningful way?
Well, that's a fascinating question. I think a really relevant one, especially in some of the circles I travel in. Again, I'm the co-founder of a thing called the Pinnacle Society. Pinnacle Society is an elite mastermind for high-producing salespeople, right? So our average performance in the members is just north, it's almost 50 cars per person per month. So we have salespeople selling 60, 80, 100 cars a month. And oftentimes they will still say to us, between Frank Crinity, myself, and Ali Reda, who are the coaches, they'll say, at my store, I'm running into this. I can't make a change because my GSM, my manager, whatever. How do I convince them to want to change something that I know is holding back the whole store and me? So the answer to that is two-part. You have to find, of course, like any sale, when you're selling an idea, you have to find the reason why or the benefit the other party would ultimately gain. And maybe even a cost or consequence if they don't take action, right? So that's the first thing, is telling somebody who's in a role where you feel you're limited. You're a manager here, you're not the GM, you're not the decision maker. You come back from an event like this, you have an idea, you're passionate about it, you want to see it implemented or at least reviewed. You start with the end in mind of the person you're trying to convince. What would be a value add they would believe in naturally? And can you align your offer, in this case your idea, to match an existing value that they already believe in? And when you present it, like any sale, you want to present from their perspective. So it would be something like, Danny, at this event, I came across an idea I think you're going to really resonate with because I know how much you believe in X, Y, and Z. And this thing I think really is something you would have loved. And I would love to share it with you because I think it's something you're going to resonate with. So right away, the frame is so important, right? How do you frame an idea? So then if it's framed in the right way, then I think the offer is a trial basis. One of the easiest things we tell people in Pinnacle to do all the time is go to your management with a trial basis. Say, hey, I have an idea. I'd like to explore it. I'd like to experiment for 90 days. I'd like to try it out for 90 days. Here would be the conditions. Here's the expectations. Here's the accountability piece. Can we try this for 90 days and test whether or not this theory works? And that's another way of kind of introducing as a Trojan horse, right? You kind of get in the door with the idea. And then if it's a valuable idea and fruitful and aligns with the core values of the person and the company, hopefully it can be then maintained. But that would be the approach. Start from the end in mind of the end user. What would they value? What would they care about? What would be a consequence they'd want to avoid? Attach your framework to their belief system, and then introduce it as an idea that could be explored as an experiment.
That's interesting, because I always thought, growing up in the car dealership, I always wanted to influence my ideas on people above me, and I thought they had it all figured out. But then becoming a leader, having others, now it's the opposite, where I'm trying to empower them to bring me ideas. So it's an interesting mind shift. Katie, you and I were talking about statistics, and I know you may have brought some with you that I'd love for you to share. But you've been now on this journey for how many years? Speaking on automotive stages?
Oh, about 7 years. Automotive
about 7
stages,
years.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know what you've seen shift within this space, because I want to get to profit. Profit is that wedge, right? That maybe customer experience is moving in the right direction, but is profit growing in tandem with it? So let's start with some statistics.
Yeah, for sure. So 86% of customers will spend more with you if there is an elevated experience. So they will not question the price of the vehicle, the price of the add-ons in the box or in the service drive. They're not going to question it if the experience speaks to them. They're actually happy to pay it. That's why those that go to Ritz-Carlton or the Four Seasons, they don't question the $1,500 a night for the room because the experience aligns for that. So questioning whether or not the experience you actually provide is in line, as I said, I get a better experience with a $7 coffee latte than I do a $70,000 vehicle, right? Does your experience align with what you're asking them to pay? When it comes to aligning it with profit, this is something that I found incredibly, jarring, but amazing, is that if you actually focus on customer experience initiatives and actually do it, put the roadmaps out there, work it, create the playbook, hire appropriately, making sure that you're actually executing, your profits, or your revenue, I should say, will triple in 36 months. There is this insane correlation between, has anybody heard of Net Promoter Score? For every increase in 1 point in Net Promoter Score, you will see a 1 point increase in your top line. And you can go look at all the companies that have ever worked the Net Promoter Score and focused on the customer experience, and you will see a 1 for 1. Have I seen the shift in the industry?
I could show you some stores where the answer would be yes.
Yes, there are stores. There are stores out there where the answer is yes. But the reality is, to your point, because you've been working on this for how many years?
Oh, we're 10 years into the whole project, yeah.
The one thing one of my mentors always said to me when it comes to customer experience or the employee experience is there's never a ribbon cutting ceremony. Like there's never an arrival moment. You are never finished. People evolve, technology evolves, your customers evolve, your systems, your processes, everything is always moving. So you constantly have to be working the experience that you're creating and providing. Are there little shifts? Yeah, I think the awareness is there now. I think in the 7 years I've been in the industry, it's less of a buzzword, customer experience or employee experience, and it's more something people are taking seriously. I mean, we have a room full of people, which is fantastic. But the actual shift in doing and moving into action, we listened to Danelle today about, what are you doing in 30 days? That mindset change. It literally takes that dedication, 10 years of constantly working the program, hiring and training and retaining, which is really important in your employees. Because if you want to keep an experience going, you better retain your employees. Because then you're going to go through this loop and you have to retrain and rehire and hope to heck they're going to go out there and treat your customers right. And it doesn't happen. I think one of the biggest shifts that needs to happen is the employee experience, is the retention, because we have such high turnover rate in the industry. It's almost impossible to keep something consistent and persistent.
ASOTU says you have to change the culture before you can change the perception.
Yes.
Right?
Can I piggyback off that?
Please.
So, as somebody who focuses on psychology, I want to take a moment for especially my note takers. This is the point. Get out your pen. I'm going to give you some notes to take, specific to the psychology of experience. So the psychology of experience falls into several categories or elements that create this thing we call the experience. So here's what they are, in no particular order, but these are what matters. How easy do we make it for somebody? Ease. Everyone in this room can relate to willingly, knowingly, transparently giving money to someone because they made something easier for you. Mow my lawn, wash my car, take my money. Right? It's easy. Effort. Effort's the next one. Demonstrate effort, genuine effort in helping me solve a problem, do something special for me, go above and beyond, and you can have my money. Most of you in this room have tipped more than you should have or needed to or ever even thought of doing it when someone demonstrated effort. Your brain, not the manager. The manager didn't come out and say, hey, if you really like the waiter, would you tip double? Didn't happen. You didn't need a TO. What happened was your subconscious brain said, give them my money. So ease, effort, efficiency. Money loves speed. It's not a surprise to anybody. No one's shocked that to fly from Florida to California, flying direct is more money than flying with layovers. Because efficiency always demands a higher price. Make something more efficient for me, get me there faster, take my money. Now, expertise, next one. Anytime you've ever worked with an expert, you've always known, consciously and subconsciously, it's going to cost more money to deal with someone who's an expert in this space. Whether that's fixing my car, fixing my AC unit, getting a surgery done. If you're a high-ranked, you're an expert, it's going to cost more money. Next one, education. Whenever we're being educated, our brain says the value of what I gained costs money. You took away fear, uncertainty, you equipped or empowered me. The better you are as an educator, the more of my money you can have. There's no surprise to anybody that Highline Community College costs less than Harvard. The education level is different. Now, on top of that, you add exclusivity. Anytime you've ever sat in box seats, first class, anytime you got a red carpet, anytime it was an exclusive component, first class costs more money than flying by the toilets. And no one's shocked by this. Does your process create exclusive experiences for your customer? Excitement, energy. We've all been excited and said, take my money. Who's been at a sporting event, the beer is $14, you don't care. Why? I'm excited. Who else wants one, right? Because when you're excited, your brain doesn't care about money. And then the last one, which is entertainment. Anytime you've been entertained, laughing, you take my money when I'm laughing. You take my money when I'm enthralled. Anytime you've had a really high level entertainment, you've always known it's going to cost a lot of money to be entertained at that level. So how do we then, as leaders, go back to our store with these elements and ask the fundamental questions? How do we make it easier? How do we create more effort for what we do? How do we increase efficiency? All these things. And the sales professional at the pinnacle level that I coach regularly, they all operate at this level, which is why they're the highest paid, highest CSI, and highest productive salespeople in the country. It goes to the experience, but that's the fundamentals.
So to build on that, so what we've done at our store, right? Because obviously one of the biggest things is we service a whole bunch of customers a day, both in sales and service and parts and everything like that. We have 150 employees now, and how do we deliver a great experience day in and day out to our customers, right? So we developed a model, we call it being ready for the customer. So on all our name tags, everybody's R, if on a name tag is red, right? It's a little corny, but it drives home the point. And we developed a model for our people. So from a porter to our receptionist to myself or anybody else at the dealership is they can solve a customer's problem. We give them a $250 budget if they're doing so, as long as they can tie it to one of 4 key components. That's safety, courtesy, show, or efficiency, okay? And if they can build the case to improve one of those 4 things for a customer or another employee.
Say them again.
Safety, show, courtesy, and efficiency, okay? Safety's being number 1, efficiency is number 4, and then we go courtesy and show, right? So if they can tie it to one of those, all they have to do is fill out a slip that gets turned in. If they spend some of their own money, they get reimbursed. If it's the company's money, fine, but at least we know what happened, and we can track the impact of that, right? But we have to make sure our people are empowered to deliver that experience, to make sure that we're delivering a better experience than a $7 cup of coffee, right? Because the reality is everything they do at our store is more expensive than that, right? And we should be holding that experience to a higher standard.
Phil, I want to interrupt and ask one question. We all have tough months. When you have a tough month, does your leadership, does your team lean in and make those experiences stronger, or do they give up on some of those experiences and says, no, we need to focus on profitability differently?
Well, there is never a compromise on making sure that experience is consistent, right? I mean, that's where the culture comes in. I mean, I'm not going to go to people and say, you need to cut back on making a better experience for our customers, right? If it's a tough month, there's probably several different reasons that it's a tough month. It's never I don't want it to ever be tied to because we didn't serve the customer right. If we're not doing that, we've got a much bigger issue, and it's not going to be one month, it's going to be multiple months, right? So you've got to be really cognizant of, I don't like to look, the hardest part of our industry is the 30-day period, right?
That's why I brought it up. Because
yeah.
We've all been in that position where we're looking at what we're doing, how we're doing it, and reverting to old ways. Versus continuing to push through for that bigger vision, right?
That's right. I mean, to me, I like looking at things on a 3, 6, and a yearly basis because that is telling me more of a story than what 30 days is telling me. I mean, it's just too short of a time to see what's effective.
I'm going to piggyback off of this because I think it's really important to realize that we are in the experience competition era. Every one of your customers can go online and compare every single make, model, price, trim level, leasing options, financing options. And so they're selling themselves before they've even walked through your door. So when they walk through your door, the only thing you have left to do is to create that experience that you're talking about, is putting that customer and that employee first. Because if you don't do it, they have number 2 on their list, and guess what? They're leaving. There is a stat, 79% of your customers are going to leave you if another organization, a different brand, gives a better experience. Period. So fine isn't fine anymore. Like, it's not okay. We need to be able to break down the customer journey. We need to create these roadmaps for our teams. We need to know what goes wrong because guess what? We're humans. We're going to drop the ball. So what are those service defects? We need to know what the operational standards are. How do we need to make this transaction happen? But then we need to go from transaction to interaction, and we need to create an experience. And so at each touch point of the customer journey, what are we doing to create an experience? And then if you really want to Ritz-Carlton yourself, you want to level up and deliver that +1, anticipate their needs. And how do you do that? By touch point. So that every human that is in your dealership that serves a customer knows their role and knows how to serve them the way you expect them to be served consistently. And then you've got this brand experience playbook that you can train on, remember, and keep moving forward.
I love that idea of a brand experience playbook. Write it down, right?
Yeah, write that one down.
Jonathan?
Note takers.
Yeah, I was hoping if I can, along the lines of the theme, how to maximize profits, right? If I can spend a moment on that. So I'd like to give you something that's both a strategic thought and a tactical application. You can go back to your store and you can talk about this conversation. And maybe as a title for this, write down lifetime value of customers, right? The lifetime value of a customer. It's a great conversation piece to have. There's essentially 6 source buckets that you can put virtually every customer that you've done business with into one of these 6 buckets. Imagine them as buses filled with 50 people. Now here's a thought experiment. I have 6 buses, so here's the 6. So if you're a note taker, here's what I want you to write down. Write down a walk-in who it doesn't have an appointment, they're just in the market, they're in the area, they happen to know your store exists, they walk in. You have ad-based appointment, right? Somebody coming off your advertising, some promotion, some product, they saw something, they're responding. You have self-generated, which is the salesperson generated the lead through their own prospecting. You have repeat household, someone in their home has already bought from you. Referral, a trusted person sent them in. And then you have a service conversion, which is they did not buy from you, but they do service with you. You have these 6 buckets. Now, here's the thought experiment to go back to your dealership with. Imagine there was 6 buses, all of them had 50 deals. We're gonna neutralize close ratio, they're all gonna buy. So there is no close ratio difference. The question remains, which bus is a higher value bus to convert if you can only convert one? Which bus should you pick? Now what's interesting is I've identified 10 metrics that you should use to quantifiably understand which bus is more ideal. But even if we don't right now go through all that, if we just ask a question, is it true or fair to say that they're not all equal? That if you could sell 50 walk-ins or you could sell 50 repeats and you had to choose, that you all probably have a preference. 50 people that came in for advertising and 50 people that were referred to you. Like, without knowing all the metrics, you kind of know which one is a better bus, right? The question then is this: do we internally have processes, pay plans, and systems in place to maximize profitability for the highest value customers consistently? I asked this of a GM earlier today. You know exactly how many internet leads you have, you know exactly how many appointments you set, you know exactly how many come in, you know exactly how much you spend. Here's what you don't know. How many customers visited your dealership that someone in their household has already bought from you, and that's why they showed up? You don't have a clue. How many actual referrals contacted your dealership last month? You don't have a clue. How many self-generated prospect opportunities came to your dealership last month? You don't have a clue. What you do know is those 3 buckets are all more valuable than the other bucket, but you have all the metrics, all the resources, all the money, time, and energy invested in the worst human beings on the planet. I say that with all love. If those people could not exist, you would operate your business without advertising, if you could. So my point is this: when you walk out of here and you want to maximize the employee experience and the customer experience and profitability, it's simple. Focus on your customers that have the highest value and teach your people to do the same. So they build a business that will one day work as hard for them as they work for it. They'll build a business of raving fan advocates, a business where the customer experience is paramount and where you truly out-experience your competition.
That deserves a round of applause. So we just have a few minutes left. Some takeaways as well. Katie, would you mind sharing what you would like everybody to walk away with?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I think we're all going to say this, recognize that your employees, your people are super important. Your customer is equally as important, and they're both the same thing, just internal versus external. You should have an employee experience developed, an employee experience playbook developed just like you do for your customer. It goes hand in hand. Your happiest customer is only as happy as your happiest employee. And take the time to actually create this playbook. And you know, and know that there's never a ribbon cutting ceremony. It's not going to happen overnight, but take a step, you know. And I'm going to go back to Danelle's 30 days, because if you did one stage for 30 days, and you coached and trained it and gave the customer a voice in every single meeting, the employee a voice in every single sales meeting, it would be synthesized. And then you moved on to the next, and so on and so forth. So take your time, realize change happens, not necessarily super quick, slowly, sustainable change, and execute it and be persistent with it. Don't give up, because I think that's where we get stuck. I say to anyone who asks me that question about, do you see a shift in the industry? It's like turning a cruise ship. It's really, really hard to turn this industry around, but we can do it if we put our mind to it, and we can if we actually stay dedicated to it. So that would be my takeaway.
Phil?
So I would say that number one, we've got to we've got to do the work to improve the employee experience if that's where you need to start, right? And I think a lot of that goes to what framework are you setting up to make sure that your employees have a pathway in their dealership, that they have the structure to make decisions, and you know what kind of people you're hiring. The other thing that we do, I think, that really helps drive customer experience, which I didn't get into today, but the realization that your dealership is one team, right? Your customer interacts with service and sales and parts, and if you've got a collision center, collision, and your buy centers and all that stuff, right? So, one way that I like to have my managers focus on is, when we talk about pay plans, is 40% of every one of my managers' pay is based on the total store performance, because I don't want them thinking that the only important thing is their department, because it's not. Like, the important thing is making sure the customer gets handled however it affects the store, right? And the more we can do that, the better everybody is. So you got to have that high level view to make sure that both of these things, employee and customer experience, are being maximized day in and day out.
Jonathan?
Yeah, if I may, again, taking the concept of focusing on the customer experience so much that we've talked about, we have a CSI score that most of us who are franchise dealers know how important maintaining that is, because it affects so many allocated resources that we get from the OEM, and everything's based on this CSI. And pay plans are directly attached to it. What I rarely ever see is a management team that has an ESI score that their pay plan's attached to. So you have management that can treat people however they want, because as long as, quote, their department's profitable. I've had dealers telling me, John, I know this sales manager is really kind of toxic, but look at how much money he puts on every, look at how good a desk manager. Yeah, but no one likes him, and no one wants to be around him. I mean, he's basically evil. And yet but imagine, just a hypothetical question, but imagine if management had an ESI score, and that every month, just like your CSI counts monthly, what if every month there was a survey that was sent out to everybody in their department? And what if, based on the score that they retained and maintained, there was a performance bonus that they either got or lost? Might they manage differently? Because people tend to pay attention to things they're paid to pay attention to, if you've ever noticed that. And so, again, it's really easy to do lip service, right? Our people, our people, our people, our people, our people. I'm the one who gets those phone calls, those text messages, all the time from thousands of salespeople annually who are like, my store, my manager, this. And we've all heard the expression, people don't leave pay plans in stores, they leave management, they leave leadership. So it's easy to give lip service, but let's be intentional. Let's walk out of here with a higher degree of intentionality. You want to maximize profits, it goes back to our people. Shiny websites are nice, shiny widgets are nice. What about our people? And so if there's time for a couple of questions, I think we could try to filter those. But
I did, yeah. And we did a little experiment today. You may have not noticed, but I didn't introduce anybody in the beginning on purpose, because we wanted to deliver the why before the who and the what. And so I will take a couple questions, but first I want to tell us again your name and what you do today that led all of this experience that you shared with us to this moment.
Okay, well, I'm Katie Maris. I'm a customer experience expert, especially when it comes to the female consumer, which we did not touch upon. That's a whole other conversation in and of itself. I'm a best-selling author, and I'm just really out here to help open up the minds and the hearts, because that's really what it takes, of the automotive industry to really realize how important the people are. I mean, technology is out there right now. AI, great. Our customers aren't bots, our peoples aren't bots. We shouldn't treat them like one, nor serve them with one, right? So we need to take a look at our people, open our hearts, and ensure that those people are taken care of so they can take care of the one thing that keeps a roof over our heads, the customer.
So I'm Jonathan Dawson. I'm on a mission to save the world one salesperson at a time. It's a modest mission. I'm the founder of an approach to selling called Sellcology, which is selling through psychology. So if you like people, and most of your customers are people, and most of your team members are people, my stuff works most of the time. And I'm also the co-founder of the Pinnacle Society, and I have a Pinnacle Training Center in Atlanta where we host events and help dealers in so many ways. But so that's why I'm at. I'm all over the web like Spider-Man. You can't miss me if you're looking for me, and I'd love to connect with anybody who resonates with what I shared.
And mine is much more simple than that. I'm Phil Gill. I'm a general sales manager at Tom Gill Chevrolet, my family store, and just here to find ways to deliver great employee customer experiences every day and grow organizations. So that's my short bio.
They should have given us an hour. But they only gave us 30 minutes. So we're going to take time for just a couple of questions. Do we have any questions from our attendees?
Yep, right here on the right.
Thank you.
Tell me what paid, P-A-I-D-D, stands for.
Oh yeah, so it was professional, accountable, have integrity, dedication, and drive. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Back here.
Hi. Just out of curiosity, I guess maybe Gil, this would be for you. Why do you feel like maybe dealers do not invest in the customer success management side of the dealership? Oftentimes, that's where a lot of your bread and butter is. Between fixed ops, obviously, and customer retention is really where you're going to find the bread and butter. But I encounter a lot of dealers where that's kind of like way to the back of their mind, and they don't create positions that can help them be successful in these areas. So like customer success managers, you don't see that often in dealerships, or customer experience managers are really like a sales consultant job, but it's like, no, you actually need a customer experience manager to ensure that your CSIs and your KPIs are being met properly.
Yeah, for the record, my stores have that, and it's called the Ambassador of Smiles. That's their title.
That. Yeah, I like that a lot.
I think it's a hard thing to quantify, right? I mean, and I think it's also a problem, the nature of our business. I mean, the nature of our business is, it's the end of 30 days. What did I do, right? How much money did I make? How many people did I sell? How many ROs did I put through my store, right? It's a very short-sighted view of our business, right? And so I think the lifetime value of a customer is the major mind shift that I think us as dealers have to say, no, this customer is worth not whatever they do now. It's how do I keep them in the ecosystem because they bring their friends and family to the store. They continue to use our service. They continue to buy other cars from us, right? It's a very different viewpoint. Now, I can say like at one point in our store, we had somebody truly dedicated at that, right? We developed the whole model I've talked about today to try to make more of those people throughout our dealership, right? I want it as part of our culture, not just invested in one person, because that one person got pretty overwhelmed. So, I prefer, we've taken the approach is how do we build that culture to deliver that experience, but it's always top of mind. So I think that's probably why we don't see a ton of investment there.
So if you three will stick around just for a few minutes after for anybody who wants to come up and ask a question, but can we give them a big round of applause?
And then I'm going to grab a selfie of everybody, all right? Here we go. Come on, get it here. Here we go. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Big smiles. Hands in the air. Let's go. Love it.